This video is sponsored by Picastro. It's like Instagram for space nerds. Good evening, welcome to Space Oddities. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday evening. Welcome to the second live stream of Mars Month. We hope that you've been looking at some of our videos that are on the YouTube channel. We'll be publishing them regularly throughout September, and we hope you enjoy them. Now, tonight, we are going to be looking at Mars in popular culture. And the question that we're going to try and answer is, why are humans so obsessed with the planet Mars? Because undoubtedly we are. So if you've got any thoughts about that, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat. So joined this evening by the usual suspects. Daz. Hi, Daz.
Hello. Hello.
Roger.
Hello.
Michael.
Hello.
Lou. Hi, Lou. Oh, say that again. Can't hear you.
Sorry, howdy, as we say in
That's better. Right. And making a welcome reappearance after a short break is Tom. How are you, Tom?
Oh, very good.
How's life?
Good.
Oh,
Life's good.
I thought you said a break of centuries because it's Isaac Newton.
Yeah.
Yes, head of apples. So anyway, welcome back, Tom. Glad you could join us this evening.
Glad to be here.
And so Sandra's been looking at them. Look, this will give us a bit of encouragement. Sandra's been looking at the videos and she says, I have, and they are great. Well, that's really nice to hear, Sandra. Thank you. I hope you enjoy them. There'll be more going up, maybe not every day, but certainly keep your eye on the channel. We'll be publishing them regularly. We've got quite a few to come yet. So there we are. So tonight we're going to be looking at this whole business of Mars in popular culture. We're going to be looking at Mars in film, books, TV, etc., and just trying to find out really, why humans are so interested in Mars, and we hope that it will be an entertaining evening for you. And thank you for spending your time with us. So let's just go through the usual housekeeping before we start. And can I just say, first of all, a big thank you to Gerard for your donation this evening already. Thank you very much, so much appreciated. If you would like to support Space Oddities, you can do so by, first of all, buying us a coffee, because astronomers' lives matter, obviously. And you can scan the QR code or click the link that's just appeared in the chat. And that will take you to the Buy Us a Coffee page, the Space Oddities page, where you can buy us some much needed caffeine. You can, of course, also go to the Space Oddities shop, where you can buy some lovely hoodies and t-shirts. And there's the link for that. So again, you can scan the QR code or you can click the link in the chat. And winter is drawing on, so perhaps we're getting towards hoodie weather now rather than t-shirt weather. We're a bit in between here in Spain at the moment. But bearing in mind, I went out yesterday and got caught in an intense rainstorm. I think I would probably get the hoodies out. But we do have intense rainstorms here in Spain sometimes. So there we are. We even had a really bad storm last week where they were predicting water spouts and tornadoes for us. So you can tell how bad that was. Anyway, you can go to the shop. You can also support us by clicking the super chat icon underneath the chat window, which is the one with the $sign on it, where you can make a donation directly. And we would absolutely love it if you joined our Patreon page and join in the community there. And you get all sorts of benefits. You get all the presentations that we do here on the live streams, the videos that we put on the channel. We've already got quite a lot of Mars Month videos on the channel, on the Patreon page, and some that haven't. We're getting them early. There are quite a few there that have not been published on the channel yet. So you get early access to what we create and produce. And as a present for joining our Patreon, we'll send you 2 lovely 10x8 astro prints of astro photographs taken by the talented astrophotographers we have among us tonight. So lots on there, lots of places to chat with us and with other viewers. And we hope you can join it for just a few pounds every month. You get a lot of benefits, and it'd be great to see you over there chatting on Patreon, so that you get to know exactly what's going on. So, excuse me, there's a cat facing.
Can I?
Yeah.
It seems that I've only had one person on Patreon who actually send me their address, so that I can actually send them the 10x8 pictures. So if I don't know if there's a problem or anything like that, but if you can just try, if you wish to have the 10x8 pictures, then drop us a line, and then we will send them off to you as soon as we can. There's no problem, we've got a nice selection of photographs ready for your delectation and your delight.
Fantastic. Yeah, do that. And if you go to Patreon, there's a chat called For New Members, and that'll give you all the details there, how to download all of the stuff, how to claim your 2 free astro prints. It's all in that chat. And the address, as you can probably see on the screen, is very easy, patreon.com/Space Oddities. So there we are. So that's all that out of the way. Now, let's move on. So the first thing we're going to do this evening is go to the news. Let me just set this up, and we'll have a look at the news. There's not that much news this week. Give me one second. Yeah, I knew this would happen. It's all right. Yeah, not a lot of news this week, but there's some interesting stuff that has been in the news. So let me just there we are. I think we're ready now. Okay, so let's just go over to the news in 1 second. Got a very slow PC, so give me a second. You may want to chat among yourselves. Why is that not working? Oh dear, I knew it would happen. Right, here we are. Right, okay. So we've got more news about the comet in the news this week. Hang on 1 second. Okay, I think we're going to have to come back to the news because I appear to have a slight technical problem. Let me just try. No, that's not happening. Okay, well, let's move on.
Oh, Daz is in the news, obviously.
Daz is in the news now. No, get back. So there we are. Just give me a second. I've just got to solve this problem. We've got a technical glitch here. Let me solve it. Right. Okay. There we are. Oh, thank God he's gone. Right. Okay, let's just try that again. Okay. So, finally.
It's Daz again.
It's Daz again.
Hello, Daz.
That's bizarre. Okay.
Are you sharing a screen with me?
No, I'm not. All right.
Have I got to entertain them while you're working it out?
Yeah. Do some
magic or something like that.
Magic
right.
Does, yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, first of all, we're going to have a look at Mars in book form. Now, there have been lots of books written about Mars, and I've got a few that I want to share with you. I'm just going to turn my background off so that you can see. There we are. That's better. So the first one I've got for you this evening, it's called Magnificent Mars, which is a wonderful book written by Ken Crosswell. And I love this book. Let's see if I can open it, but just to give you an example. It's packed full of the most amazing images, but also it looks at Mars from the angle of the 4 elements: fire, air, earth, and water. And it's just a wonderful, let me see that. There we are. It's just it's a wonderful book. And it also is a really good book about the actual ages of Mars, if you like, because each epoch of Mars has got a name, and it takes you through the whole history of the planet. So that's a wonderful book by Ken Crosswell called Magnificent Mars.
Excellent.
This was £35 when I bought it, but I think you can pick it up now for under 15 on Amazon. It's quite old now, so bits of it are out of date. It's from 2003, but it is a magnificent book. It's Magnificent Mars, a magnificent book. Now, the next one is a book called Mars, A New View of the Red Planet. And this is written by a guy called Giles Sparrow. This one dates from 2014. It's a lot more up to date. I'll just show you again. It's just full of the most amazing images. This one, I think, it was £25 when it came out, and I think it's currently going for $11.50 on Amazon UK. So it's a bargain, and it's just a general book about Mars, which is really lovely. And then the last one I've got, just the ones I pulled out of my library, is a book called Mars Making Contact, which is about the history of Martian exploration, which is exceptionally interesting. And it tells you all about humans' efforts to explore Mars. This was 2016, and I think you'd have to check the prices, but I think you can get this for under a tenner on Amazon. So that's a really good read too. The Amazon UK links to all of those books are in the description of the video, so you'll be able to click on them and go and have a look at them. Mm. And I've got a few others. I've got a couple by Patrick Moore as well, but there we are. So that's the Mars in books that I've got. Viewers, if you have got any books about Mars that you would like to recommend, put them in the chat. And Derek says, funnily enough, Derek, we were discussing this before we came on air. Does anyone remember the Martian Chronicles starring Rock Hudson? Yeah, it was really crap. It really was. Killing people by firing a swarm of bees at them.
Bees at them, that's right.
Yeah, it was just awful. The special effects were laughable. Rock Hudson looks so out of place in a drama set on the surface of Mars. The book or the stories, of course, were by Ray Bradbury, who's a fantastic writer. But the Hollywood translation of it, in my opinion, anyway, was absolutely dire.
There we go. We've got a bit of a dispute going on there. Great TV series. But just as you were saying, you were talking about one of your books. It comes at the angle of also doing the we've got to come back up again. About the 4 elements and all that. I've just put up a series of videos. They're in Patreon at the moment. They eventually will work their way onto YouTube, and it's basically Mars and mythology, but in different civilizations, and different groups of people. And again, that appears, and it's not only just the 4 elements. There's even they go into 5 elements as well. It'll probably get mentioned maybe tonight. I don't know. We'll see. But but there was this going back through ancient history, where all the planets were linked to certain elements of the 4 or 5 elements, and Mars came under sort of, like you say, fire because of its color, and also iron because of its association with war. So I can understand that.
So getting back to the question of thanks, Daz. Getting back to the question, team. I mean, what do you think? Why are humans so obsessed with the planet Mars? Any thoughts?
Well, who wants to take that first?
I'll take a shot at it. I'm going to go outside the realm of science into psychology. I think this is an existential issue. We were talking before the show about how science is often negated, and you try to talk science to people and they just don't want to have any, they don't want to consider it. And that tells me that this is, there's an element that is not coming from their frontal cortex, it's coming from their amygdalas, right? And there's this state that we all go through that just is by virtue of being human, you get this. And this is the existential anxiety and existential despair. And the existential anxiety is a fear of making contact. And the existential despair is a fear of being alone. So Mars, I mean, where are you going to go? Mercury? It's got nothing. Venus? Oh, hell no. All the other planets, at least, are gas giants. You can't land on them. Mars is right there, somewhat Earth-like. And I think the interest has to do with our fears of contact and our fears of being alone in the universe. As I've said many times, the answer to the question of whether we're alone either way is frightening, right? So that's my...
Yeah. Simon says, I'm obsessed because it's completely empty of human life and I want to go and live there, peace and tranquil. Yeah.
I'd add to that.
I'm sorry, Sandra, we can't really arrange that for you at the moment.
I know I'd add to that as well, Lou. I think earlier on we were speaking just very quickly about that, and I think, okay, it goes back way before comic books and graphic novels and all that kind of stuff, and even TV shows of the late 50s and stuff. But I think just even the word Martian just conjures up this other kind of otherworldly type thing that other aliens could potentially be living there, whether they're non-lifelike or whatever. But I think even just the word conjures up this grandeur of this other civilization that lives beyond, well, just beyond where we are. So it's always an interesting one.
Yeah, because as I was saying, in ancient times, Mars stands out. Like I've said this already tonight. Mars stands out because of its red color and also its changing of brightness and direction. And people noticed it years ago. And of course, they were considered. This is before people knew about planets, and they were considered to be gods. I mean, the Greeks called it Ares. The Romans called it Mars, and that's where its name comes from, because Mars is the god of war. And this is where where the name sort of stuck. But it was something that people saw in the sky. It was bright. It was orange. It did strange things. It moved backwards as well as forwards.
Yeah.
And they were trying to make sense of their surroundings and what they were seeing. And of course, they made up stories of that it was the god of war, charging at an enemy, then retreating, and then charging back again, to defeat the enemy and things like that. And it's been something that because we were saying about Venus was also held in such esteem, because it was believed that underneath the clouds because we couldn't see the surface, there were steaming tropical forests, possibly teeming with life. But of course, once that was dispelled, and we found out that it was basically a poisonous planet, and we wouldn't want to be there. You wouldn't go to holiday there. And then, of course, that means we could more people have focused on Mars. And since, so even with Victorian times, they've imagined that they've seen things on Mars, like the canali. So they thought it was something, and also the darker areas they thought was vegetation. And they put two and two together and come up with, at the time, was a plausible idea. It was canals bringing water from the polar regions to the equator, where it was irrigating things and all that. But then, of course, along came Mariner 4, went there and completely blew it out of the water. But there's always been this fascination, and they've always believed that that there's something there. And I think again it comes back to so in a sense that we don't want to think that we are alone. But then again, when you look at the films they produce and the books they produce, they've all got different types of meanings. They're coming from different places. So it's held fascination for us ever since we were able to start thinking for ourselves and thinking outside the box.
Sure.
And we saw that things were changing in the night sky. So yeah, it's that's my theory anyway.
Okay, thanks. Anybody got anything to add? No. Okay. Sorry, Lou, go on.
I was going to say, I think, adding to what Lou said earlier on as well, there's a fascination for humans to want to believe there's other things beyond where we are. From a psychological perspective, it's that are we alone, are we not alone, and either's equally as scary. But I think there's that human need to think that there's something beyond where we are, whether there are or not, is still to be discovered, obviously. But that psychological thing of looking up and imagining what potentially could be out there, whether it's scientifically there or not.
Yeah, and just following on from what Lou said, it said, yes, all days of the week come from the 7 celestial objects that moved in the sky. Well, of course, even March is named after Mars, from the Roman calendar, because March was the start of the war seasons. So again, because that's when the weather in the northern hemisphere is getting better, that's when you're going to give somebody a kick in next door. So of course, this is so we do get, like you say, Saturn and stuff like that, and things like that. So yeah. It's held a fascination ever since the year dot, really.
Interesting comment on that, Daz. It's believed that there were 7 objects that we could see in the sky: Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. But in fact, under dark skies, they could see Uranus. And over time, they could have told it moved. They just didn't really pay any attention to it. So we could have an 8-day week, and that would really screw things up.
Can I just interrupt? The Deep Burrito, I know this is for you, Lou. Lou's going to be talking about the film Mars Attacks later. And the Deep Burrito said, did the textures on the spaceships in the film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well done, sir. Fantastic. Wow. Fantastic. Yeah, tell us more about that in the chat. That sounds quite interesting.
Wow.
So let's move on. I'm going to make another attempt to go to the news. Just give me 1 second, and hopefully this time it will work. I've got no idea why I kept thinking that Daz was the news earlier, but as if that's ever going to happen. So
if you come on again, Daz, we're going to talk about
there we
it.
go.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we are.
About Daz.
Oh no! I don't know why this is all happening. What's
No,
this
me
about?
neither. Me neither. Right, sorry about that. We do have a technical issue with the news this week. I'll hold it over to next week. There wasn't that much anyway. But
the news it does.
It's only science. I mean,
it's only science, yeah. So I just hope it doesn't happen for my other presentation tonight. So there we are. All right. Well, anyway, we're going to carry on with Mars after this short break from Roger, who's going to give us the night sky and the gallery. So, Roger.
Right.
God, I've got so many presentations up here. Trying to find yours. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Here I am.
So,
I'm here.
Right. What's in the night sky?
No, not that one.
Hang on, I've just noticed something. Let me just get rid of something, because it looks like my presentation has disappeared, and it's just got a wide screen. Let me just get rid of this.
Technical issues this evening.
Not an accident.
Right, try and load your stuff now.
Right, let's switch that on.
No.
Hey, there's something weird going on this evening. This is going to be a real problem.
Because I've just had to cancel my screen.
Can I just ask you to leave the studio briefly?
Briefly, as in a few hours.
Yeah, till 10:01 you can come back.
Yeah.
Right, I'll disappear completely.
I'm going to try something else here. Just give me a second, and let's try. When Daz is on, go on, off you go.
I'm just going. I'm going.
Go. Just get out of here. Right, thank you. Right,
okay, let's start the show.
Ah!
Oh no!
Oh no!
Let me try something. Hold on a second.
Oh God! Is it your fault?
No,
Right.
no, that's
Oh, I see.
I can
Ooh.
see I can see
I
presentation.
can feel. I see Roger's.
I've
Right,
got two.
okay.
I've got two up now.
Right. There we
Hey.
are.
Hey.
Right.
Ah,
It was in the sources panel.
Oh, was it now? Right.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
there we are.
Right. Okay.
Anyway,
So-
okay, so we're going to go between the 9th and the 15th of September 2025. So we've got some comets still coming through. We've got the Epsilon Perseid meteor shower during it, getting a bit of a peak going on through this week. And we're just coming past the lunar eclipse now, and we're heading towards a third quarter at the weekend. So things will be getting a bit dimmer in the sky, but not overly so. So, night sky through the week. We've still got the summer triangle still appearing, although that now is starting to head towards the western horizon, but still quite high up overhead. And we've also got the Pleiades and Taurus coming up through now. So winter is approaching, so that's quite good. We've also got Saturn, which is getting quite nicely placed now for anyone who wishes to view the planet with the sky there. So just before sunrise, we've also got Jupiter and Venus dominating the morning skies, although Mercury is too close to the sun now to be visible. So at some point later on, towards the end of September, we'll start to see it as an evening object. And there we go. So we've got a period coming up for the Epsilon Perseid meteor shower, which is peaking today actually. So that's quite interesting. So need to have a look through. It's not heavily meteors, about 4 an hour, so it could be a bit of a challenge, especially with the moon still being quite bright. But there is a possibility. So good luck trying to spot one of those. So Perseus, the mythological hero who slayed Medusa. So that's part of the history of that. Okay, so we've also got an occultation of Titan from on the 11th, which will be Thursday. So obviously having the plane rather at 3 degrees, it will enable a lot of more transits and occultations than we normally do. So take a close opportunity to see if you can spot that, weather permitting. So we've also got, oh look, Mars. So we've still got Mars visible, which can be quite interesting. So that could be a nice view. We've also got 2 degrees north of Spica in Virgo. So that will be, well, that's saying 4 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So that will obviously be daytime for us. So that could be a bit of a challenge. Mars isn't that bright. And with that saying retrograde on Mars, Uranus is doing a retrograde, which is just starting now. So over the last few days, we've had Mars Uranus retrograding as well. So that's in Taurus. So that is becoming visible in the evening skies as well. So we do have an interesting gallery this week. Well done, and thank you to all our usual subscribers. And where's one from Lou of the Dumbbell Nebula? And he's done one with his 5-inch refractor, but this one he's presenting tonight is with his C11.
Oh,
nice.
That's nice.
Lovely. Look at that.
Apparently, size matters.
Look at the C Star 11.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish.
Yeah, good
That's
job
lovely.
getting that out on the table. And then we've got one from Lee, the Ghost of Cassiopeia, which he's done with his little sea star. And that was 9.6 hours of 20-second subs.
Wow.
So that's
Oh,
quite
no.
a few there. And he says Shane Gamma Cassiopeia blew it out a bit, but there we are. He's not got a good enough processing skills, but he's had a go, and here we are with that.
Oh,
Oh,
That's very nice.
Lovely.
very nice.
Very moody.
Love the signature.
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what you take away from it, Lou, is it?
Well, you know, it's the
Yeah.
little things in life.
Yeah, I don't see the signature when I take a picture of it.
It's a beautiful thing.
Anyway,
No.
that's a good capture there, right, Lee?
Yeah, yeah.
Very
Thank
nice.
you for
Yeah,
that.
very nice. And like you say, that was with a sea star.
And here's one of the wizard done by Jerry. And this is what he's managed to
Oh,
produce.
Beautiful color.
yeah. Well done, Jerry. That's
Great.
brilliant.
Well done, Jerry. Thank you very much for that.
Lovely.
And we've got a nice solar image from Michael Murphy over in Dundrum and Dublin. And this is what he's managed to get. So still lots of sunspots there. Done very nicely. Well done, Michael.
Beautiful.
Right, and we've got some lunar eclipse pictures here, surprisingly. This one's from Sandra,
Oh, thank
and
you.
this was done with a Sea Star S30
Oh,
Oh, nice.
from North Wales.
Oh,
that's nice.
wow. Wow.
Mm,
No mistaking
Okay.
that, is there? Look at that.
yeah.
We in America so appreciate these pictures. So we couldn't see it.
No. Anyway, well done, Sandra. And one from Michael.
oh,
Oh, yeah. This was slightly earlier on in the eclipse.
yes. Bet 2018 that was on the Sunday,
Very nice.
and that was a handheld Nikon Z7 leaning against the window frame.
Really?
Very good, Mike.
Okay. Well done.
Wow.
And here's one from me. This was a grab shot because it got so cloudy when it was parting. This was all I could manage to get, so
Oh,
I sort of exposed it for the eclipsed area rather than the lit area.
Yeah, we could almost merge those two together, yours and mine, Roger.
Yeah,
yeah.
about
Yeah.
the same sort of time. So
Yeah.
It's so real.
It's still quite effective, though.
yeah.
Yeah.
So by the time I left, the skies cleared and it was pretty much over. So typical. And this was the day before the lunar eclipse.
Look at that.
So it's a 99% moon there.
That's
Can
lovely.
you get the other 1%?
Yeah, not quite.
So the moon used to be whole, and now it's
It
not
was.
anymore.
No.
Lovely, Rog.
Yeah, well
Well
done.
done.
Very
Yay.
good, Rog.
And this is just a general wide-angle nightscape shot. And this is what I captured. Now, if you look from the ground upwards, you can see the Hyades, and then you've got the Pleiades above it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you sort of move up towards the right, where you've got the double cluster in Perseus further on that,
Yeah.
Yeah, right at the top, yeah.
That's lovely.
if you know where to look.
So
Yeah,
winter is coming then.
Yeah.
yeah, winter's coming, yeah.
Winter is
If
coming.
I'd left it a bit longer, you would have seen Jupiter coming up through as well.
All right.
You were up late.
This was round about midnight or so for this one, so
Oh.
it's not that late. So it is starting to come up quite nicely now. And this was using my C11, which I got out for the first time. Got the
Sure.
cobwebs off it, and I put it onto the mount to see what it was doing. I had to go and try and do some collimating the night before, which I didn't quite achieve. So I've managed to do it the following night, and this is what I got. Part of the night's.
Wow.
Oh, that's really nice. Nice definition.
Mm.
That's a good
So,
one.
yeah, so it's out on the mount as we talked, so I can keep it collimated and try and do some more phases of the Terminator.
Is that a single image, Roger, or is it a
That is using SharpCap, using the live stacking tool.
Okay.
So it's building the pictures up into one image that you save as a TIFF.
Nice.
So no processing videos and then using AutoStacker and Registax. That's how it comes out. You just process it slightly in Photoshop, and that's all you need to do. Makes it so much simpler. So that's what we have for from the gallery this week.
Very good.
Fantastic. Thank you, Roger. Thank you very much indeed.
Okay.
Thank you very much for all your images, everybody. Don't forget, if you would like to submit your night sky images to the weekly viewers gallery, then you can do so very easily, because what you can do is you can attach your images to an email, one image per email, please, if you would be so kind, because they'll make it a lot easier to process like that. And you can send them to gallery@spaceoddities.space. So there we are. And of course, everybody who submits their image gets them included in their own little gallery on the Space Oddities website, which, if you don't know by now, is https://spaceoddities.space. So thank you very much for your contributions. We always love looking at your images and sharing them and talking about them. So another week of wonderful images. So well done.
Yes, and they're already up on the website already.
They're on the website already. What you want.
Oh, yes.
So thank you for that, Roger.
Do we need Roger's next presentation up yet?
I think you're up next, aren't you, Daz?
Yeah, I'll do. I'll just take Roger's away then. Right, I'm going to have to reload mine because, like I said, I nipped off.
Right.
Are you able to do your news? Do you know
No, just move on with yours now.
Right,
if we got time at the end, I'll slot the news in, but otherwise we'll reconvene it next week.
All right, please bear with me.
We do apologise for the slight technical issues we seem to be having this evening, viewers. Oh look, you've got Tom to disappear. So
can you see that?
No.
I can tell this is going to be a challenge.
This is going to be interesting.
All we got was Andy.
Yeah.
I think we see your presentation in the upper.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, that's all right. So here we go. We can do it from there.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Okay, then. Let's see if I can control it from here. Right. So what basically, as you said, we were talking about Mars in folklore, in film, in science fiction writings. Now, this could go on for hours and hours just by talking about the cinematic side of it and TV. And also, we could do exactly the same with the literature. It basically, there is so much out there. So this is just going to be a brief rush through because I do know that some people have got some more things it regards certain things that are on there. So let me just say. So that's not going to work, is it? That's typical. Just bear with me a second. Which one am I doing? Cinematic journey. So okay. Right. So we should be able to see this change. Right. Okay then. So we're going to be looking at this. Well, we're going to rush through this because I said we're up against time. We're having lots of technical stuff today. So here we go. So from Victorian literature to modern blockbusters, the Red Planet has captivated our imagination for generations. This presentation explores Mars' evolution in film and television, revealing how our celestial neighbor, that's spelt the American way, I do apologize, has mirrored humanity's hopes, fears, and scientific understanding. So this is what we're basically going to be looking at. So in early films, the earliest you can look at is The Foundations of Martian Cinema, early silent films from 1950s B movies. You've also got War of the Worlds, which we'll be talking a lot more about later. Of course, that's been adapted several times. It's even a stage show now. Very robotic parts for it. Scientific advances transform Mars depictions. Of course, this is how we found out that Mars wasn't a living planet that we thought. Contemporary films and TV series, scientific accuracy meets human drama, and Mars cultural impact, how Mars stories reflect and shape our cultural anxieties and aspirations, which it always has done. So the Victorian Mars obsession, Mars captivated the 19th century imaginations because, as we said, we saw what we believed were the canals. Looking through telescopes, they saw these straight lines that seemed to emanate from the north and south poles, heading towards the equators, and they believed them to be canals carrying water to the vegetation that they believed was actually growing on there. And this created a wave of speculation about Martian civilizations. Percival Lowell's detailed canal observations, though later disproven, sparked a literary explosion that would eventually fuel cinema's first Martians encounters. The Victorian obsession with Mars represented both fascination and scientific progress, and anxiety about an imperial encounter with others. So, early Mars in films, 1910 to 1950s. A Trip to Mars, 1910. One of cinema's first Mars stories. Of this 4-minute Thomas Edison short featured alchemical rather than technological space travel. Alicia, Queen of the Mars, 1924. Soviet silent film featuring a Martian society with constructivist aesthetics, using Mars as a canvas for political commentary. And then we've got Flash Gordon. Who remembers Flash Gordon? Flash Gordon, Trip to Mars. Serial adventure bringing pulp aesthetics to Mars, establishing tropes of heroic Earth explorers encountering alien civilizations. All good stuff. Excuse me, that's just come up and I've got a thing in the way. These early films established Mars as cinema's extraterrestrial destination of choice, often using the planet as a backdrop for adventure rather than focusing on scientific plausibility. Mars Invades, Red Scare from the Red Planet. The 1950s saw Mars-themed cinema reflect Cold War paranoia, which we can all remember what was happening in America with the Reds under the bed and things like that. Films like The Invaders from Mars and The Angry Red Planet, 1959, portrayed Mars as a source of invasion and contamination. This era's Martian films often featured mind control and body snatching. Well, we know a few people we think that's happened to. Hidden Martians infiltrating society. Yeah, well, even now. Visual aesthetics blending aliens with Soviet imagery. Okay, then. Commies. Anxieties about nuclear technology, and of course we've all experienced those at some time.
By the way, I've got both of those films.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, Invaders from Mars was actually good. It was very eerie and very creepy. It was really quite nightmarish. Angry Red Planet wasn't so good, but Invaders from Mars, viewers, if you get a chance to watch it, might even be on YouTube. I don't know, but yeah, it's really atmospheric and really good. So
yeah, I was just looking at the picture. Actually, I didn't have noticed this before. I think the bloke who's nearest to the so-called camera looks like he's having a really bad day. He's got 3 arms. He's got legs all akimbo.
Yeah, I know.
He's having a real bad day.
Obviously a Martian. So,
exactly.
It's on Netflix, Andy.
Oh, is it? It's on Netflix. Is it really?
Yeah.
Well worth a look, Invaders from Mars. If you look at it in the context of the time, it's really quite nightmarish.
Yeah. And then, of course, we've got H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, published in 1898. H.G. Wells' novel established a template for Martian invasion narratives that would influence a century of science fiction. The novel addressed British imperialism by positioning humans as the invaded rather than the invaders, with technologically superior Martians attacking Earth. I didn't read any of that into it. I just was scared. I was hiding behind when I first saw it. I was hiding behind the chairs.
Well, I'm going to tell you all about that later.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to nip through these because we all know. Of course, we know about the radio thing, which we're going to talk about. I'll just flick through these so you can actually have a quick brief of them if you want to stop and watch them, read them later. All these will be appearing later on YouTube and in Patreon. So if you miss anything. So of course, War of the Worlds, 1953. And of course, we were talking about how it evolved, the Cold War context, influential visuals, and the film won an Academy Award for special effects, established extraterrestrial invasion as a major Hollywood genre. And then, of course, along came the scientific revolution and a Mars reality check. And as I said, it was Mariner 4, 1964-65, captured the first close-up images of Mars. When, of course, it revealed a cratered, seamless, lifeless world, upending decades of fiction about canals and civilization. And, of course, if we can go through the films and all that. So we got like 1964, Robinson Crusoe in Mars. I guess this is basically based on the Robinson Crusoe story. Released just before Mariner 4's revelations, this film attempted scientific plausibility with its astronaut survival story while still featuring oxygen-producing rocks. Okay, that's interesting. And alien slavery to maintain drama. And then, of course, who remembers the Twilight Zone? Yeah, we all remember that.
Can I just stop you there?
Carry on.
Here's your 5-point question. Who played the astronaut in Robinson Crusoe on Mars? Anybody remember?
Hang on, mate.
Do you know who played the astronaut in Robinson Crusoe on Mars?
There he is there.
It was actually Adam West.
Oh, of course it was, yeah.
Who played Batman in the TV series.
Batman. Batman.
There we are. Just
yeah.
throw that
there you go. Right. The Twilight Zone, we all remember. Will the Real Martians Stand Up, 1961. And that was talking about basically Cold War paranoia with Martians infiltrating society, and they look like humans, so they look like everybody else. And it was just basically a reflection of the paranoia at the time. And of course, Doctor Who. We all remember Doctor Who. And of course, his nemesis from nemesis from Mars were the Ice Warriors, who were a dying race. And of course, they carried on for decades. They'd make a reappearance, like most of his alien counterparts would, and all that. And if I remember, the last one was basically where he was on Mars, and he destroyed the queen of the Ice Warriors. Or they were trying to thaw out. I don't know. So long ago. So it acknowledged current scientific knowledge while maintaining Mars' fictional potential through temporal displacement. Then, of course, we've got films like Total Recall. And, of course, people read all this into it. I mean, of course, the one most people remember is with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And the adaptation of Philip K. Dick's story began a landmark in Martian cinema, combining detailed world building with action blockbuster elements. The film envisioned Mars as a corporate-controlled mining colony with breathable atmosphere hidden beneath the surface. The concept that allowed for practical filming while acknowledging scientific reality. Title, of course, it features revolutionary politics, body horror, and existential questions about memory and identity, alleviating its pulp foundations to philosophical science fiction. So it was supposed to be quite deep. And here we are. I won't pop into this one too much, but we all know Mars Attacks. I think Lou's got a little presentation on that. Tim Burton's, and it was basically it wasn't a Mickey take, but it was done as a let's just go for it. Tom Burton's satirical alien invasion comedy deliberately embraced retro Martian tropes from the 1950s and 60s, adapting trading cards rather than attempting scientific accuracy. The film's deliberate campy aesthetic celebrated the history of Mars in pulp fiction while satirizing American political and military responses to outside threats. But as I said, Lou's going to tell us all about this later on. But it was a very satirical film. I can remember watching it, and what would surprise me is how many famous people actually took part in it.
Yeah.
As Sandra says, it was hilarious. So yak. And then, of course, again, we go back to War of the Worlds, and Andy will be talking about it. It's been remade in several types and all that, even with different names, titles, and all that. But it's basically the same film. We were talking about, the tripods, as you said, was first introduced by Orson Welles as the war machines. But again, this was also post 9/11. It was, of course, and it was, of course, who was the chap in it? Did
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. Oh, it's at the bottom there. So science-driven renaissance, Mars as a destination, Mars rovers and orbiters return increasingly detailed information about the red planet. Films and TV shows began to treat Mars as a realistic destination for humans, human exploration rather than a source of alien invasion. This show reflects a shift in growing public interest in actual Mars missions and challenges of human exploration. Of course, we had The Martian, again, which was now it says this is Ridley Scott's adaptation, and it was science-driven fiction. The film particularly depicted survival challenges based on current Mars knowledge, featuring accurate Martian gravity, dust storms.
I think Lou's going to tell us about this later.
Oh, is it? Okay, sorry, I'll just look for it. But yeah, the dust storms, maybe. But I'll just go through these, and Lou's going to talk about the Martian as well. Plausible battalion engineer. Of course, more everybody remembers the line, and excuse the language, but let's science the shit out of this. So, contemporary space agency politics and things like that. Television reaches Mars. Of course, we've got Mars, National Geographic's hybrid documentary drama series with real-world Mars scientists and fictional future missions. Blurring the lines between current planning and speculation. The Expanse. Now, I know I've watched it and Andy's watched it. That is a very good
the best
series.
Sci-fi ever is The Expanse. If you haven't watched The Expanse, watch it. It's the best sci-fi ever on TV. Trust me.
Yeah, it is very good, very enthralling. It's one of these things you want to binge watch. And For All Mankind 2019.
That's great.
Of course, that's an alternative space race story.
Really good.
Television longer format allowed for deeper exploration. Martian. Key themes in Martian cinema, from Robinson Crusoe on Mars to the Martian planet serves as an ultimate isolation environment to test human resilience. The Red Planet has been used to explore capitalism, communism, environmentalism, and resource exploitation throughout cinema history. Mars stories often parallel historical colonial encounters, sometimes critically examining the ethics of claiming new worlds. The tension between scientific accuracy and dramatic necessity defines the evolution of Mars on screen. Visual evolution. 1950s and 60s relied on red filters, painted backdrops, Earth locations. Mars appeared alien but clearly terrestrial in origin. In 1980s, 80s and 90s, combined practical sets of clearly digital effects to create more convincing landscapes. And of course, then we come to photorealistic CGI informed by actual NASA imagery. So this is how the cinema's been evolving. Visual representation of Mars has evolved with obvious Earthbound sets to data-driven digital landscapes that closely match our scientific understanding. So what I'll do is I'll just pop that up there for a second, and then we'll just move on a little bit because, like I said, I don't want to go and tread on anyone's toes. As human Mars missions move closer to reality, Mars fiction stands at a fascinating crossroads. Future depictions will likely be shaped by actual Mars missions when humans finally reach Mars. And we'll be looking at Mars terraforming stories increasingly serve as metaphors for Earth's climate crisis and indigenous Mars. Growing recognition of colonial narratives may lead to more stories question humanity's right to terraform other worlds. Mars will likely remain cinema's most revisited extraterrestrial destination, continuing to evolve as our scientific knowledge and cultural applications. So that's the end of that one. So if you just bear with me a second. Mm-hmm. We'll be in a minute. There we go.
Okay.
So I'll just get rid of that. What I'll do is I'll hold back on the literature one, Andy, because that took a bit longer than I wanted to do.
Sure.
So if I can just get rid of it, if I can find it. I'll stop
okay.
sharing.
Okay, just let me send the message.
There we go. So yeah, so basically, I mean, in literature, of course, it goes even further back. I mean, we're talking about Gulliver's Travels even had mentions of the moons of Mars.
Yes.
And this is before they'd been discovered, and things like that. But I mean, how are we doing for time? No, I'll leave it because we're an hour in.
Okay.
So I know people got things.
Okay. So what we're going to do now? We're going to go over to talking about what Daz just mentioned, War of the Worlds. But as you will see, it's actually quite a big subject. So just let me set this up. Let's hope we can get this this working. And if not, we'll have to think again. But anyway. Right, here we are. So that worked this time. This is good. Okay, so the War of the Worlds, birth, impact, and the Victorians. So just let me get back to where I was. Okay, so War of the Worlds, as you probably know, the book was written by H.G. Wells, and when the book was written, it was quite revolutionary. There's an original illustration from the book on the right from the first edition, but the book has become a classic, and as we've seen, it's sort of spread across the whole of the media, radio, film, television, and beyond. Now let's talk about H.G. Wells himself. The H.G. stands for Herbert George. He lived from 1866 to 1946. He was born in Bromley in Kent to a shopkeeper and a lady's maid, but he broke his leg when he was 7, was confined to bed, and developed a passion for reading. He was apprenticed to drapers in his teens, but he didn't like that and pursued education instead. He won a scholarship to a school in South Kensington, wonderfully called the Normal School of Science. Obviously, their academic results weren't brilliant, so they got called the Normal School of Science. Strange name for a school, but there we are. He actually studied biology under T.H. Huxley, who, as you may know, was known as Darwin's bulldog. He was one of the main proponents of evolution and supporters of Darwin in the Victorian era. And this really started to influence H.G. Wells' writing. He worked briefly as a teacher, turned to journalism and fiction. His first major success you all know, because it was made into a wonderful film in the 1960s called The Time Machine. And that was followed quickly by another success a year later in 1896, The Island of Dr. Moreau, The Invisible Man, which I'm sure you all know, 1897, and The War of the Worlds, 1898, which became his biggest success to date. But he didn't just write books. He wrote novels, essays, social commentaries, and histories, non-fiction works like The Outline of History, 1920, Short History of the World in 1922, popularized history for mass audiences. He was a Fabian socialist. He was active in politics, advocating social reform, education, and world government. He blended scientific speculation with social critique. His so-called scientific romances anticipated technologies such as tanks, aerial warfare, nuclear weapons, and space travel. And he did influence both science fiction and social thought. He was married twice, once to his cousin, which, wouldn't be quite the done thing these days, obviously. But he did marry his cousin in 1891. And then he married Amy Catherine Jane Robbins in 1895. But he also had several extramarital relationships, some with well-known intellects of the Victorian era. He worked first as a teacher, then as a tutor and journalist, but by 1900, he was able to support himself and his family solely through sales of his books. Now, this was very unusual in the Victorian era, that writers could actually support themselves just through their writing. They normally had to do writing as a sideline. Of course, when you're talking about people like Thomas Hardy, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, yes, they were eventually able to support themselves, but it was still quite an unusual thing for a young author, as Wells was, to be able to support themselves solely through their writing. He died on 13th of August 1946 in London. He wrote his own epitaph, which was, "I told you so, you damned fools," reflecting his lifelong warnings about human folly, war, and misuse of science. What was Mars like to the people of 1898 when War of the Worlds was published? Well, astronomers already knew that what Mars' orbital period was. They knew what its axial tilt was, 25 degrees, very similar to Earth, 23.5 degrees, its polar ice caps, and its reddish surface. They also recognized seasonal changes on the planet, which they thought might imply vegetation group. But then in 1877, along came Giovanni Schiaparelli, and he reported linear features on Mars he called canali, or channels, mistranslated into English as canals, suggesting artificial structures. So in fact, they didn't start life as canals. The guy who said he'd seen them, which he obviously didn't, he was, they were in his imagination when he looked through a telescope. He'd actually called them channels, which could have been natural channels, but English people being English people, they translated it as canals. So this started the whole canal thing about there being a civilization on Mars, when it was quite an innocent use of the word canali. As Daz said later, Percival Lowell in the 1890s built the Lowell Observatory and argued these canals were irrigation works built by a dying Martian civilization. His books were widely read and influenced public imagination a lot, actually. It was believed at the time that Mars had a thin but breathable atmosphere, perhaps with water vapor. Some scientists considered it one of the best candidates for life in the solar system. Of course, the measurements of the precise composition and density of the Martian atmosphere came much later. So there you have on the left a map that created by Schiaparelli, showing these what he called channels, in which the English inevitably translated as canals, quite a network of them. But we know obviously that there's no way that Schiaparelli could have seen these, so his eyes were playing tricks with him, obviously. But what did Wells' audience know about Mars when he was writing War of the Worlds? What did the man on the Clapham omnibus, if you like, know about Mars? Well, educated readers would know that Mars was the red planet with polar caps and visible surface markings. And this trickled down from popular astronomy books and magazines. What you have to remember is that in the Victorian era, there was a lot of interest among the public in astronomy because there were lots of astronomical discoveries being made, catching the public's imagination. In fact, I think it's fair to say that among the public, astronomy was a lot more popular as an interest than it is today, which is, you know, sign of the times, I guess. But a lot of people were interested in the universe generally back in the time of Wells. And then you had, you know, the newspapers full of these stories about the canals on Mars. And, you know, ordinary people at least might have heard that Mars might be inhabited. But few of them, of course, had detailed knowledge of planetary physics. All that came later. The physics of Mars came later. But even astronomers at the time were divided about basic features of Mars. So the person in the street, you know, wouldn't have really known what to believe. And this allowed Wells to fill in the gaps with his imagination. Many of his readers would probably have considered Wells' Martians at least plausible. There was a great public thirst for knowledge about the universe. This coincided with the time when books and magazines and circulars and all sorts of printed material was becoming a lot cheaper in Victorian society and affordable by the average person. There were loads of magazines, loads of literary magazines, loads of publications on everything. It was a time of great learning and public thirst for knowledge. What a shame that didn't persist. So Wells was able to tap into this thirst for knowledge with his fiction, with his accessible journalistic and non-sensationalist style. What would have been Wells' influence? Well, as I said, he studied under T.H. Huxley, one of the foremost Darwinists. He applied these ideas to the idea of an alien species invading Earth, and it spurred him to imagine a resource-hungry civilization seeking a new home. The famous opening passage from the book, including the words, the phrase, "intellects vast and cool and unsympathetic, watching Earth reflects the era's anthropocentric anxiety flipped outwards rather than inwards." And he did extrapolate from known or emerging technologies, the Martian heat rays, for example. There were parallels with contemporary experiments with focused light and X-rays, tripods and machines, a leap from industrial machinery and steam engines, biological warfare. The Martians' vulnerability to microbes reflects cutting-edge microbiology at the time. So you've got a story, you think you've got an audience for that story, but what you have to make sure is that your audience enjoy the read, which is the most important thing as an author, of course, that your audience actually enjoy what you're reading and can understand what you're reading. So this is why Wells had such a captivating style. And he was extremely good at clarity and directness. He avoided the ornate or highly figurative style. Compare him with Thomas Hardy or Henry James. They use much more florid, more complex language, more complex sentence structures. Wells kept his sentences really short, his vocabulary everyday, and his imagery vivid but not elaborate. Because he trained as a biologist, he knew all about scientific precision. He wrote with a repertorial or journalistic tone, often describing fantastic events as if they were scientific case notes or newspaper reports. And of course, later, as we'll see, Orson Welles took this concept that Wells could have been writing newspaper reports and turned them instead into radio news reports on the radio. But a lot of that success was due to the fact that Wells wrote in this journalistic sort of detached style, just reporting facts. So this meant that his fantasies had an air of plausibility that the public just latched onto. They could relate to it. They understood what he was saying. A lesser writer might not have been able to be so successful, or a writer more like Hardy or Henry James, or even Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. If you've ever read any Conan Doyle, it's, you know, a lot of it's not easy language to process, but Wells kept everything simple, and that was the key to his successful style. Portraying himself in the first person often as a journalist, a teacher, or a scientist, someone ordinary through whom extraordinary events were observed, and that grounds the reader in realism. Wells moved the plot quickly. His novels are relatively short compared with the sprawling triple-deckers of earlier in the century. So his books were, quite short, but they managed to pack a lot of detail in. But was Wells the only person of that era writing about Mars? Well, no, he wasn't, funnily enough. In 1880, Percy Gregg wrote a book called Across the Zodiac, known as, it's seen as early science fiction or voyage extraordinaire. The plot was that a nameless Englishman builds a spacecraft powered by a mysterious anti-gravity force called apogee. And he and his mates travel to Mars, where they encounter a civilization of humanoid Martians. The Martians are technologically advanced, but politically stagnant, their society in decline. Now, this, of course, links up with Wells' version of the Martians, where they're not politically or socially in decline, they're biologically in decline. And the hero of the piece falls in love with the Martian woman, but it was never meant to be, unfortunately, because of the cultural differences, and that's it. This is considered one of the first full-length novels about interplanetary travel and anticipates many later tropes. We also had in 1890, Robert Cromie wrote A Plunge into Space, and you can see a picture of the first edition there on the right. Now, if you happen to come across that book in, car boot sale, charity shop, keep an eye out for that book, because, you do get old books like this that people throw out from time to time. That book's worth £2,500. So keep an eye out for that. Make yourself rich, or a little bit rich. So this was a popular science romance. It concerns a group of English explorers. It was always English explorers, of course, building a spaceship. They go to Mars. They find a utopian society, peaceful, scientifically advanced, and free from Earth's problems of war and poverty. The Martians don't like Earth people, though. They see them as crude and violent. So, there's no real possibility of Earth and Mars being friends with each other. And the heroes, unable to convince the Martians that they're not crude and violent, they return home, and their mission failed. So it's a bit of a depressing book in some ways. But this is a sharp contrast to what Wells wrote about, because Cromie depicted Mars as an idealized, enlightened society with an enlightened civilization. This book, A Plunge into Space, sold quite well. Wells was aware of it, and it's been suggested, excuse me, that he reacted directly against this idea of a utopian Martian society in War of the Worlds. And then we had in 1892, Camille Flammarion, La planète Mars et ses conditions d'habitabilité, which is, as you can probably see, I'm sure I don't need to translate this, Mars and its conditions for habitability. This was not fiction. This was a popular science or speculative astronomy book. And he summarized what was known as Mars orbit, seasons, and surface. He was, not surprisingly, a French astronomer, but he was a prolific science popularizer with a lot of publications. He strongly supported the idea that Mars had vegetation, an atmosphere, and intelligent life. He discussed the canals as evidence of a worldwide irrigation system, imagining Mars as benevolent and wise beings, perhaps older and more advanced than humans. This book was immensely influential throughout Europe and helped fix the idea of Mars as a dying but ultimately a civilized world. And this is the concept, of course, that Wells inverted. It did sort of blur the boundary between astronomy and speculative philosophy. And Flammarion, his works were read, by the man in the street as well as by scientists. He sort of straddled both audiences. Now, if we compare the way that we can say that Greg and Cromie saw Mars as a stage for utopian or romantic exploration. Flammarion saw Mars as a real scientifically plausible world full of intelligent life. And Wells, of course, comes along and says bollocks to that. Mars is not noble or idealized, but predatory and dangerous, and it wants Earth as a colony. So Wells did really flip all of that on its head. Let's put the book in terms of the Victorian context. First of all, we had imperial anxiety. Now, this was at a time when the British Empire was probably at its peak in the 1890s, but there were cracks appearing. You had the Boer War. You had new empires rising. You had the Chinese on the rise. It was a big shock for Britain, which was used to invading other countries, suddenly to imagine being invaded. It was against the whole imperialist ideal. Many reviewers and readers recognize this allegory. The Martians treating London much as Britain had treated Tasmania, Africa, or India, and it played into the wider Victorian debate about whether Britain's dominance was permanent or vulnerable. For the first time during this epoch, I think Britons were beginning to see that the empire might not go on forever, that there were cracks appearing in it. And this made people really insecure. Science, evolution, decline. Well, Darwinism, the Victorians were still trying to come to grips with Darwinism. They were trying to come to grips with natural selection, extinction, and humanity's place in nature. The Martians are described as intellectually superior, but physically degenerate. They are the end state of a species. Their species is coming to an end. And this raised uncomfortable questions, again, about whether humans too might decline or be supplanted. And in the case of Britain, that was all tied up with ideas of empire. Microbiology, of course, the Martians, in the end, in the book, were destroyed by microbes. This reflected cutting-edge knowledge because you had people like Pasteur and Koch. It reinforced the idea that invisible forces could shape destiny, an unsettling thought for an era facing epidemics. Also, the late Victorians, in terms of urban modernity and vulnerability, they prided themselves on industrial and scientific progress. We had the advent of the railways, of telegraphs, of organized cities. And along came Wells and says, let's bomb the hell out of that. London reduced to rubble. Familiar landmarks in Woking and London suburbs along the Thames invaded. This was shocking for Victorians because invasion was unimaginable in Britain at that time. It tapped into fears of anarchy and new warfare, which were, bubbling under the surface, which, not that many years later would be manifested in the First World War. Poison gas, aerial attack, technological terror. And these were all bubbling under in fin de siècle discourse. Now, here's a bibliography of Wells. As you can see, he was a really prolific author. These are just his novels. Never mind all the non-fiction stuff. Now, I've highlighted in blue here the ones that you've probably come across. Most of them, I think it's fair to say, I've never heard of. But of course, you've got The Time Machine, The Island of Dr. Moreau, The Invisible Man, War of the Worlds, at which point, as I said, Wells is a successful author and he's able to support himself. And then The First Men in the Moon, which I'm sure you've heard of because that was made into a film. The History of Mr. Polly, that was a film as well, starring John Mills, if I remember rightly. And on the right there, The Shape of Things to Come, also made into a film. But look at all the other books that he wrote. His last one being You Can't Be Too Careful in 1941. He was a prolific author and an extremely popular one as well. So then we come to the actual writing of War of the Worlds. He actually published it first in a magazine called Pearson's, which was one of London's literary magazines, of which there was a great profusion in late Victorian England. And these magazines were read by quite a wide readership, and he serialized it. So you had also Sir Arthur Conan Doyle serializing Sherlock Holmes, also in Literary Magazine, and also Thomas Hardy. Not all of his books, but his early books, he's serialized, because it basically means that the magazine could sell more copies because readers would want the next installment in the story, so they would buy the magazine the following week. And before it was published as a book, War of the Worlds was indeed serialized. It did serve as a powerful allegory for British imperialism, turning colonizers into the colonized as Martians invaded and destroyed. How did the critics view the book when it came out? Well, the Spectator magazine of London on the 29th of January 1898, one reads and reads with an interest so unflagging that it is positively exhausting. The Academy, another literary magazine in London, on the 29th of January, on the same day, Mr. Wells has done good work before, but nothing quite so fine as this. Whereas the Athenaeum, the following month in February 1898, Basil Williams wrote, "There's too much of the young man from Clapham attitude about the book. There must be some sort of association of men from Clapham with something at the time, because I think that reference is probably lost on us now. But anyway, he didn't obviously think much of the book." But Nature magazine, also in February 1898, R.A. Gregory wrote that upon a groundwork of scientific fact, his vivid imagination and exceptional powers of description have enabled him to construct a story which makes demands upon the imagination only where the demands can be readily granted by the scientific habit of mind. Now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, what he's saying here in this last part of the extract is that only people with scientific frames of minds will appreciate it to the full, which may or may not be true, but it didn't dent the popularity of the book if you didn't have a scientific mind. We move on to 1938, as Daz mentioned, Orson Welles' infamous radio broadcast. So as I said earlier, because of Welles' journalistic style, it lends itself very, very easily to being presented as news reports on the radio. And this is exactly what Orson Welles did in 1938. It was a groundbreaking piece of radio. On 30th of October 1938, Welles and the Mercury Theatre did this as an adaptation, and they did this by breaking into regular programs and keeping their listeners updated on what was happening in the Martian invasion. And of course, many people thought it was actually happening. There was mass hysteria, and people left their homes. The police were called. There was absolute chaos. And it was perhaps the first demonstration of the immense power of mass media, and one of the most famous events in American broadcasting history. Now, they did try to prosecute Welles for causing public mischief and all sorts of things. But in the end, because no laws had been broken, the prosecution failed. So Welles got away with it. But it was certainly an audacious attempt to get these ideas in War of the Worlds across to people and make them think that it was actually happening. We do have the Cold War sci-fi film classic, 1953, directed by George Pyle, produced by George Pyle and directed by Byron Haskin. Took the story to 1950s America during the height of Cold War paranoia. There's one of the Martians, which you might recognize from the film on the left. It did feature groundbreaking special effects that earned an Academy Award, including the iconic Martian war machines with their Cobra-like heads and devastating heat rays. It did replace the tripods with machines supported by invisible force fields. And if you look closely at it, when you watch it, the force fields are actually depicted by sort of dome-like transparent things over the machines. Well, they were actually the coverings of carriage clocks, which you probably can recognize when you see them. But they're brilliant, absolutely brilliant visuals. But even if you look in that image, you can see the strings. But never mind. It was audacious. The Martian heat ray, which you can see in action there, that was a superimposed welding lamp that was used to generate that sort of shower of sparks, if you like. But it was a brilliant attempt at adapting the book. It did have religious overtones. Everything came all right in the end, thanks to God. But that did reflect American values of the era. 2005, Spielberg's blockbuster. He deliberately incorporated imagery reminiscent of terrorist attacks with scenes of ash-covered survivors and clothing falling from the sky, echoing the World Trade Center aftermath. Visual innovation. The tripods came back using advanced CGI. Now, I actually really love this film. Once you get over the initial really, really silly premise that the Martian war machines were buried deep underground and the Martians came to Earth to crew them by sliding down lightning bolts into the ground, which was immensely silly. But once, if you can get past that, the rest of the film is I think, really good. The CGI in it was really good. And it took over 350 million at the box office. It was a big success. I'm not sure how much its budget was, but we're going back to the 2000s, and it made a lot of money. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. It proved again that War of the Worlds was still a going commercial concern. It's like a chameleon. It had changed its color yet again to a modern adaptation. I thought Tom Cruise was really good in it, actually. And you may recognize that scene from the film where the first Martian war machine rises out of the ground over the buildings. It's very well done. Now, as far as the tripods go, of course, we saw the tripods in another context on the BBC, in the BBC science fiction drama Tripods, which ran for 2 series. And the third series, which would have concluded it, was never made. It was cancelled due to, I don't know why it was cancelled. I assume it was too expensive. I think it got quite good ratings, but not enough to ensure its survival. But this idea of the war machine on a tripod has been used in lots of things. So viewers, if you've got any thoughts about the BBC's Tripod series, did you watch it? Did you like it? Put it in the comments. I watched it. This is only my opinion. I think the one thing that let that down was the terrible acting on the part of the hero. The acting was really not good, so it's a bit distracting. But
it never really got started, did it, Andy? It never really got, because it was cancelled.
Yeah.
So, but it was interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting. There's interesting ideas there. So, this idea that when kids reach puberty, they have a MAGA hat, a metal plate put in their heads, and they become subservient. It wasn't bad, the special effects were definitely of its day, but not just of its day, on a TV budget as well, rather than a film budget. So they were a lot cheaper, the special effects. But yeah, not bad. I might rewatch it at some point. I've got it, so I might rewatch it one day. Other ones, 1981, there was a Polish film called The War of the Worlds Next Century, using the invasion as a metaphor for Soviet-era propaganda and government control. 2005, a film by Timothy Hines. It was period accurate. It was set in 1898 England, but didn't get any backing from the studios, and it got terrible reviews and went straight to video. So probably the less said about that, the better. 2008, there was another low-budget interpretation of War of the Worlds going straight to DVD. And then from 2019 to 2025, there's the new thriller starring Ice Cube. Has anybody seen that? Viewers, have you seen
No.
that? The on Amazon, the thriller, War of the Worlds thriller starring Ice Cube. It's made for the TikTok generation because it's all found footage on mobile phones. So the only visuals you get are seen through mobile phone screens, or virtually all of it. And also the CGI is just dreadful. It's laughable, and it's had the worst reviews of any film that I've seen this year. So less said about that one, the better, I fancy. But there is, this demonstration that taking the basic idea of War of the Worlds, this sort of colonial idea, it's been adapted into lots of different things in lots of different ways. You had in TV in 1975, ABC did a film, The Night That Panicked America, which was a recreation of Orson Welles' radio broadcast. I've never seen that. It might be quite interesting. Then in 1988 to 1990, there was a US-Canadian series of War of the Worlds, picking up 35 years after the 1953 film, with aliens emerging from dormancy to threaten humans again. Don't know that one. The 2019 BBC adaptation. Did anybody watch that? I remember that.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
with Rafe Spall and Ellen Tomlinson.
yeah.
Did you watch that one? What did you think of it? I thought it was dreadfully, dreadfully dull, to be quite honest. I wouldn't say it was boring, but it was just nearly yawn-inducing. I think they tried to make it too faithful to the original, but it still had a modern setting. In some ways, it was a weird thing. There was too much dialogue in it. A lot of the dialogue was not in the original book. They wrote a lot of extra dialogue and a lot of people talking to each other, but there was no threat, no danger in it. I didn't think. Just my opinion. But also simultaneously, there was a modern European series on Canal Plus and Fox, and that lasted for 3 seasons from 2019 to 2022, focusing on survivors rebuilding after the initial attack. I don't know about that one either. I've never seen that one. So there we are. So that's in TV. Beyond 1938, beyond Wells, of course, there have been multiple radio adaptations of War of the Worlds in 1950 and 1967. Peter Cushing was in the latter as the narrator. And not forgetting, of course, Jeff Wayne's musical version of War of the Worlds, which is still an immensely popular album. And the stage show is still doing the rounds. And every so often they bring out a new version. You can see on the graphic on the left, War of the Worlds, the new generation. And they just keep updating it. And audiences love it. It plays to packed houses wherever it goes, which is quite remarkable, really. Of course, the original was narrated by Richard Burton, and you probably can't better that in terms of narration. But I've seen it on YouTube. One of the versions is on YouTube. It's really, really good. And I did love that album when it came out in 1978. It had some great musical moments.
Jeff Wayne with David Essex as the artillery man.
That's right, David Essex as the artillery man.
Bows and arrows against the lightning.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, so then of course we had some contemporary audio productions. LA Theatre Works 1994 audio drama, and Audible did a 2018 version starring Sam West and David Tennant. So the productions attract big names. They're constantly being reinvented, and they probably will be forever. And there have been lots of cultural ripples and homages. We've talked about Mars Attacks, satirizing the alien invasion tropes. Independence Day. This specifically was not Martians, but it was sort of, based on the same premise. It was basically a version of War of the Worlds without specifying Martians. I didn't like that film. I just didn't. It just stretched the bounds of credibility too far. That you could infect an alien spacecraft's computer with Windows, whatever it was at the time. So I don't know. It was, you know, it's pretty mindless entertainment. Passes a couple of hours harmlessly, I suppose. And there were lots of video games of War of the Worlds as well. This is the famous 1982 Atari arcade game, which some of you may have played. I don't remember playing this, but some of you might have done. And, you know, there have been many versions of War of the Worlds in computer games on various platforms ever since. So what is the enduring legacy of War of the Worlds? Literary innovation, influencing countless writers from Arthur C. Clarke to Stephen King. Social commentary, examining imperialism, turning on its head, looking at technological hubris and humanity's resilience. It was a media milestone, enabling, you know, this sort of morphing of this story into every type of media you can imagine. And visual evolution. Each adaptation reflects its era's anxieties and technological capabilities, creating a visual history of both filmmaking and cultural concerns. And I'll leave you with this. As we face new global challenges in the 21st century, H.G. Wells' cautionary tale of invasion, devastation, and eventual triumph remains as relevant as ever, ensuring the War of the Worlds will continue to be reimagined for generations to come. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of H.G. Wells and War of the Worlds.
Very good. Very good. That was fantastic, Andy.
Thank you.
Very in-depth. Yeah, as you said, there was all the TV adaptations, and I did see the one that you were on about, the last one. And as you said, it sort of like, it didn't have the thrill factor. It was sort of like a bit long-winded, and it was a shame because, like I said, the tripods as well, that just sort of like disappeared, so we didn't know where that was going in the end. But and as you said about the pulp books in the Victorian times that had all the the Martian stories and everything in them, so yeah, it's very very interesting.
Absolutely. Okay, so that was Wells' War of the Worlds and the Victorians, and what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to Roger. Now, Roger's going to be telling us about another.
I think Lou has to go soon, doesn't he?
Oh, you have to go, Lou?
I will have to leave at 5 for my class.
Okay,
You can do my thing.
Okay, we'll do it now
today,
if you
or
like. If you don't mind, Roger.
Okay,
Nope.
sure.
Carry
Doesn't
on.
matter if you do.
Sorry to upstage you, Roger.
Okay, so Lou's right. Scrub that. So Lou's going to talk to us about these two of these films we mentioned already. Those being Mars Attacks and The Martians. So take it away, Lou.
Yes. Can you bring it up for me? I uploaded it.
Right, here we are. Take it away.
There we go. Okay. What? Oh my God! What a movie!
I've actually never seen it, believe it or not.
I can feel the
Normally,
terror right now as Mars attacks. This movie, strangely, this is a Tim Burton movie, first of all. So now you get a sense for, you know, what the genre and the just the way he approached it. Very, very Tim Burton-like. This movie was an adaptation of a series of trading cards that came out in the 1960s, believe it or not. And these trading cards were about a very horrific Martian.
Can I just stop
invasion.
you there? Could you just explain
Yes.
to the viewers what trading
Yes.
cards are? Because I don't think in the UK they're known as that.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Right. That's important. I have to be culturally sensitive. Okay. There is a, how to explain this? If you have an interest, it could be an interest in playing Dungeons and Dragons, or it could be interest in a football, soccer team, or all kinds of interests. Many times you can buy packs of cards that will, each card is a little different, and it will have maybe your favorite football player, or your favorite character in a movie, or your favorite Dungeons
Right.
and Dragons person, or I remember buying Pokemon trading cards. There are like 300 Pokemon characters, and each little pack that you buy had a different character on it. So it's just a way of having a little fun with an interest of yours. And apparently there was a set back in the 1960s of trading cards about a Martian invasion. And it turns out that these cards were so horrifying that after a while, parents got them canceled. The kids were buying them, and they were gory and horrifying. So that's what the movie's based on. And the reds and blues and greens, the really bright colors in the design of the movie, as you can see on the left here, that came from the trading cards. That was a nod to the trading cards. So yeah,
I just interrupt you one further. The deep burrito, they're his spaceship textures that he created for the film. So well done, sir. Really good. Yes. Now, Burton wanted to give it kind of a 1950s B movie feeling to it, and he succeeded, except that it's in color. So, besides that, so it is really a crazy film that is what you call a cameo film. Okay, a cameo film means you get every famous actor together that you can, and you shove them one way or another into this film. And that's exactly what happened with Mars Attacks. I mean, I love this movie so much. It is so much fun. Here you see some of my favorite scenes from the film. In the top left, this is hilarious. You have Martin Short, who is an assistant to the president, and he's cruising the city in his limousine, looking for chicks, and just like all of us, just like the current president
in America. Yes, well, we won't get into that, but yes, indeed. And the Martians have built this kind of robot that they think looks and acts like a human robot woman. And he sees her on the street, rolls down his window in the limousine, and tries to impress her that he's the assistant to the president, and he could show her the White House if she'd be interested. So he picks her up and takes her to the White House, into some special rooms that nobody's supposed to go into. And she's actually she has a camera embedded in her. And anyhow, it gets crazy. If you can believe it, it gets crazier from there. On the bottom left here, a great scene where the Martians are kind of human-like. They take pictures, and it's like they're on vacation, and so they kind of group together in front of the Taj Mahal as the Taj Mahal is being destroyed by some sort of particle beam weapon. I mean, just so funny. This movie has everything. It has femme fatales. It has Martians. It has robots. It has brain surgery, removing people's heads. It has the professor who's going to save us all, but he didn't. Here you see Pierce Brosnan in the lower part here. He's the professor who's arguing that they must be a very advanced civilization, and so, of course, they're going to be peaceful. Well, hell no, they're not peaceful at all, but they tried to convince us they are for a while. In the lower right here, you see, now I'm forgetting the people's names.
Is that Jack Nicholson?
The president. Yes, thank you. Jack Nicholson is the president, and the Martians have already particle beam weaponed Congress, and he's in this picture here. He's trying to reason with them, saying, "Can't we all just be friends? Can't we get along?" And you can hear him saying that, and so they seem to accept that, and then they torch him. So, of course. So this movie is so funny and so great. And what a cast.
Oh,
I mean,
goodness
look at
me.
these.
Tom Jones.
Oh my goodness. I mean, it's got Glenn Close, it's got Michael J. Fox, it's got Sarah Jessica Parker. I mean, everyone who is anyone in Hollywood almost is in this movie. So that makes it kind of fun. And this is a close-up of one of the Martians shooting his laser weapon. And well, they don't get taken down by bacteria
what a shame.
or viruses. Right? I won't tell you what takes them down. You won't believe me if I tell you. But in the end, the Martians they go away. They die, and it's just so much fun. So I love this movie. I think I've seen it
Really?
10 times. Oh yeah, it's fun. It's easy to watch. It's a comedy. It doesn't take a lot of brain power, and it's just fun. So if you haven't seen Mars Attacks,
I have actually got it. I've just never watched it. I must go to watching it.
You haven't seen it? Oh my God! Someone as intelligent and well read as you, Andy. I'm shocked.
I'll give you the fiver later.
Shocked. Okay. So star-studded cast: Jack Nicholson, Glenn Close, Pierce Brosnan, Michael J. Fox, Sarah Jessica Parker, Danny DeVito's in it. Oh my goodness. And I think Nicholson agreed to be in the film so that he could, but he was going to ad-lib his part. So I think that's interesting. In other words, he wasn't reading from a script apparently when he did this. Okay. So anyhow, this is Mars Attacks, and so much fun if you haven't seen it. Moving to the other side of the spectrum, The Martian, much more recent, with real Mars surface film footage. This is a movie that is somewhat realistic about Mars, and in fact, the chief science consultant for the movie was Jim Green, the chief scientist for NASA, up until about a year ago or so. So here's an interesting story. So I worked with Jim for many years at the National Space Science Data Center, and so we would go to the same conferences and so on. And there's an American Geophysical Union conference in San Francisco. They're now moving the location around. I think it's in New Orleans this year, but it was in San Francisco. So we'd go there, and we'd get some time to get together with your colleagues that you haven't seen all year, and we'd go out for a Chinese meal at this special Chinese restaurant. And there must have been 5 tables of 10 people, 10 NASA people at this restaurant. So I have the book with me. I'm reading the book, and I take the book out to read a little to my table. And Jim is over at another table, Jim Green, and he says, "Hey, Lou, you're at the wrong table. Come over here and read." So I come over there and I open the book. He said, "Just start from the beginning." So I start from the beginning. And the first line in the book, for those of you who've read it, you know this, is, "Oh my goodness, I think I'm effed."
Yeah.
So here
It's
I am
a great
with
book. I love
world-class college. Yeah, it is a great book. It is a great book. So the movie has a tremendous amount of Mars science in it. The plot, the general plot is that Andy Weir, who is the Martian, he is left on Mars, left for dead. They thought he had died in a Martian windstorm, which I'll get to in a moment. So his colleagues, who are afraid that their ascent vehicle is going to tip over, they take off without him. And sometime later, they find out, oh my goodness, he's alive. And he figures out how to survive on Mars. He's a biologist. He figures out how to grow potatoes. So it turns out that they are able to rescue him. And I don't want to give too much away to the movie, about the movie, because it has some very, very interesting turns in it. And it is an interesting combination of science and almost science. It's not fantasy like the Mars Attacks, but there are some clearly non-scientific things that go on in this movie. One of them, of course, as we all know, if you've seen the movie, is the windstorm. Now, so there's a violent windstorm that has hurricane-type winds, and it knocks over a piece of equipment that drives into Mark Watney is the character, Mark Watney's spacesuit, and so they think he's dead. Well, there are severe dust storms on Mars, generally at Mars perigee, closest point, perihelion, sorry, closest point to the sun. However, Mars' atmosphere is about 1/100th, about 1% the density of Earth's. So winds on Mars generally are something like 10 to 15 kilometers per hour. However, during a Martian dust storm, they can get up to and above 100 kilometers per hour. But if your atmosphere is only 1% the density of Earth's, it's not going to feel like much. Anyhow, in the film, he's blown off his feet.
Can I just interject there? If you,
go for it, yeah.
Andy Weir talked about this, and he said he had to figure out a way of marooning Mark Watney on Mars, and he went through all sorts of scenarios about how he could be left on Mars while his colleagues leave it. He knew full well that such a Martian wind was not possible, but in the end, he said he couldn't come up with anything better. And he said he was relying on the fact that not many people would know that that wasn't possible on Mars. So he went with it anyway.
It looks so realistic.
Yeah.
I mean, if I didn't know much about Mars, I'd believe it too. So when Jim Green, NASA chief scientist, came on the set to advise, he had to run with the plot. Okay, so that's something he couldn't change. Another interesting piece of the plot is that Watney figures out how to grow potatoes in the Martian soil. Well, they missed a little part there. We've already talked about it on Space Oddities, that there are perchlorates in the soil, and you have to find a way of filtering those out before you're going to be able to grow potatoes.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, there's a lot of really cool real science. The uncovering of the Sojourner rover to use its communication system, and the idea that you have HABs on the planet that are fairly lightweight. Of course, that's a problem for galactic cosmic rays, but never mind that. And the fact that you have ascent vehicles waiting to go. All of that is pretty real. So I love The Martian for its realism. If I just relax a little bit, I can just believe the whole thing. And I also love the role of the NASA administrator. Let's see if we can get. Oh, here he is figuring out how to get water out of the CO2 in the atmosphere, the hydrogen in the carbon dioxide atmosphere, and grow his potatoes. So that's a really cool thing. And here is the, so this, I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at the spaceships that we have today. It's great. I have a hard time getting to this one, but this is the transfer vehicle that brought them to Mars and back. Here is the rescue. Watney takes off in his ascent vehicle, but his orbit's too low, and he has to do some really crazy things that he's told not to, but in order to meet up with the and rendezvous with the spaceship that's going to take him home. So here's a picture from that. And then here's the cast. Another wonderful cast. Jeff Daniels is the NASA administrator, and he just does a marvelous job. He doesn't get too emotional. He knows what's good for the agency. He's thinking about budgets and stuff, and I think as a NASA administrator would.
Yeah.
So
You've got some good names there. You've got Jessica Chastain's in there, and Sean Bean is in there, and some great people in that.
Yeah, and Eddie Ko plays the head of the Chinese space agency, who actually saves our butts in this movie. So if you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth watching and reading. I loved the book. I read the book before I saw the movie. I liked them both. So that is The Martian.
Great. Thank you very
because
much.
I remember on this one is the chap who worked out the trajectory to get him back, and he's literally, he's absolutely working night and day, and he's absolutely wired on coffee. It's so funny.
Oh, that's just like working at NASA every day. Oh yeah, we pull all-nighters. I used to have a contest with my friend Kirk Boren, who's he's a cosmologist, astrophysicist, looks at superluminous galaxies. And we would be in at the NSSDC, and it'd be 2 or 3 in the morning, and I'd think, well, I wonder if Kirk's in. I'd call him, and yes, he's in. And I only did 5 all-nighters that year. He kicked my butt. He did so many more. But this is real life. This is what you do at NASA when there's something to be done, when you've got a mission critical item coming, when you've got schedules that can't be moved.
Do you remember when New Horizons was approaching Pluto and they lost contact with it, and they stayed up for about 4 days straight?
Oh yes,
trying to fix the problem, which they did. So
yeah, the ground crews are amazing. When I was out at JPL for Voyager encounters, we worked. I think we worked 16 to 18-hour days. We slept a few hours, and because the spacecraft didn't care what time it was. It's a fairly non-empathetic spacecraft. So
there we are.
There we are.
Thank you. But listen, Lou, we'll let you get to your teaching. Hope it goes well. Thank you so much for that. And viewers, we hope you enjoyed all of that. We're going to move on to Roger now. And
we've only got 2 minutes left.
I think
that's about right, Roger. See ya.
I wonder if Derek will give us a dispensation tonight, as we've got a lot to get through tonight.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Anyway, one of the films that depicts an invasion of Earth, well, not exactly an invasion, more of visitation, is the 1951 movie The Day the Earth Stood Still, which is notable for its special effects, although they're not an awful lot in there. But we were having a debate before the show, because the alien visitor is not specifically mentioned as coming from Mars, but a lot of Americans, when they saw it at the cinema, assumed that he was from Mars. So we've included this because he might have been, although it's not specifically mentioned.
Absolutely.
So there we are. So Roger, The Day the Earth Stood Still. I remember seeing this on TV when I was a lad, and I was a lad, believe it or not. I know it doesn't sound very likely. And it opens with that marvelous sequence of the UFO flying over Washington and landing. So they were. Anyway, I'll let you about all that.
Yes, it's one of my favorite films, and it's all down to the tensions of the Russians and the Americans in the Cold War. So that's a lot of things that are happening between that. So we've got the 2 icons of the alien visitation, Klaatu, who is portrayed by Michael Rennie, with remarkable dignity and gravitas, who was the archetypal wise alien visitor.
He was good in that role. He really was.
Accidentally got shot by one of the soldiers, thinking that his the gift that he was going to present was an actual weapon, but was not to be. And then we've obviously got Gort, the robot, the enforcer, standing 8 foot tall.
We should point out that it was his character Klaatu who got shot by the soldier, not Michael Rennie.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, and so we've got the premise of aliens. We come in peace or perish here. We've got are they real or are they just pretending to come in peace with a plan of action and beat the people on the planet Earth because they're all simpletons. So we've also got how he's managed to escape from his bed from being shot and being become a person of interest who's taken into this family, and this boy manages to befriend him, and the woman in there sort of befriends him. And the Klaatu Barada Nikto, which was the famous phrase that this woman had to say to Gort to stop him going off on his destruction of the planet. So this was played by Patricia Neal, the actress, and obviously wasn't aware of what was happening until she had to go to the spaceship to give the message to the robot. It was quite a jarring thing. And Robert Wise was the director, who brought a unique combination of technical precision and humanist storytelling, having previously worked on Citizen Kane. So another
what
interesting.
What very famous film did he direct in the early 60s?
Robert Wise.
Yeah. Do you know?
No.
Not aware of that.
You couldn't have got further from this film if you tried. He was the director of The Sound of Music.
Oh, right.
And also that fantastic horror film, The Haunting, from 1960, I think it was, which is one of the scariest horror movies ever made. So well worth seeing. If you haven't seen The Haunting, do yourself a favor, track it down, or email me. And wonderful. Anyway, please continue. Sorry.
Anyway, another interesting aspect of the film was the sound score. And we've also got composer Bernard Harmon using the theremin. If you've not seen that, it's quite an interesting instrument to play. It's sort of got like an electrical signal which you use from a pole, which you use your hand in front of to get the pitch and the specialness of the music and things like that, to give you that eerie sci-fi sound that gave the atmosphere of the film such much more drama to it all. So it's quite an interesting thing.
I mean, the theremin became the sound of 1950s sci-fi because there were other films that used it. It Came from Outer Space, which is another great sci-fi movie from that period. That also makes extensive use of the theremin.
Also got quite a lot of special effects from Forbidden Planet, but that obviously wasn't Mars. That was a little bit further away.
Yeah, just a bit. Altair 4.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been quite a interesting comparison of the alien to somewhat giving a Christ-like symbolism that he assumed the name Carpenter. So that was his nom de plume of when he was a guest at a boarding guest, hiding away from the army and the police. So it's quite interesting that he took the name of Carpenter. So in some of the history from it, in 1995 it got national recognition as a cultural, historical, and of aesthetical significance, and it became pop culture as well, and also influenced Close Encounters, The Terminator, to Independence Day, like it had in War of the Worlds as well. So these films also helped to promote the sci-fi genre, as they say. So all well and good.
Yeah.
And I think I shall just wind up with a remake that Keanu Reeves did, which I wasn't particularly impressed with.
I don't think anybody was.
No, I don't know what he was thinking of
No.
when he said yes to that film, but it was a very, very interesting film, and even today it bears up quite nicely to some of the other sci-fi films as well.
Mm. Mm.
That was a quick run through due to the time that we are restrained to constrain.
Right. Thank you very much, Roger. That's great.
Mm.
There we are. Well, one film we haven't mentioned, which was also Mars related, of course, was Quatermass and the Pit.
Yes, excellent film.
And
Yes.
absolutely superb film. Made by Hammer, of course, more well-known for their horror films.
Yes.
It was one of Hammer's few delvings into sci-fi. Do you know what the other one was?
Oh,
There was
What?
another. Well, when I saw it at the cinema in 1968, I really enjoyed it, and I watched it recently, and it's really dated. But the film was Moon 02,
oh, right.
which was a great movie. I mean, that was moon landing era, so beautiful portrayal of what life might be like on the moon once we've got to it and built a colony. Very 60s, very psychedelic, and featuring Warren Mitchell as the bad guy.
Yeah.
And
But as we said, sorry, I was just going to say there are so many films. We could go on for hours and hours talking about them, and it's the same with the. I mean, we haven't really touched the literature side of it at all this week, which we're hoping to do. But yeah, it's absolutely fascinating.
But you should check out, definitely, if you haven't seen it, Quatermass and the Pit.
Yes.
Again, like War of the Worlds, London Under Threat. Very, very English film, but brilliant with its story of ancient Martians and ancient humans and Martians selectively breeding humans, and a great story. And the special effects for their day were good and really stand up. Anyway, we're going to move on now because time is nearly there. So we're going to just move on to Michael for the last section this evening. And we're going to do our normal constellation of the week. So
I'm still here.
Yes.
Still here. Yeah.
That's a miracle.
It's a miracle. So I'll hand you over to Michael for this week's constellation of the week.
Bear with me a momento.
By the way, viewers, I do apologise for the technical problems that we had in the first half of the show.
Okay, here we go.
appear to be okay now. Aquila.
This is Aquila, the eagle of the night sky. Aquila, the celestial eagle that soars along the brilliant path of the Milky Way. And there's a blown up version of it there. As you can see, straddling the Milky Way there, quite a rich star field through the constellation. Located along the celestial equator, Aquila spans approximately 34 degrees across the night sky, making it a prominent feature visible from most inhabited regions of Earth. Best viewing, northern hemisphere observers can best spot Aquila during August and September evenings. Its highest point in the southern sky during the summer months, and going into the first weeks in August in autumn. Aquila lies directly on the plane of the Milky Way galaxy, resulting in a richly populated star field and numerous deep sky objects. Okay, origins and myths. The name Aquila derives from the Latin meaning the eagle, a majestic bird deeply embedded into Greco-Roman mythology as the carrier of Zeus's thunderbolts. This celestial eagle has soared through the human imagination for millennia. Ancient astronomers associated Aquila with the myth of Ganymede, a Trojan prince who was abducted by this mighty eagle to serve as a cupbearer to the gods of Mount Olympus. Aquila was one of the 48 constellations described by the 2nd century astronomer Ptolemy, and is now one of the 88 constellations defined by the International Astronomical Union. Summer Triangle, Aquila, Altair, the brightest star in Aquila, at magnitude 0.76, ranks as the 12th brightest star in our night sky. At just 17 light years away, it's one of the closest stellar neighbours. Together with Vega and Lyra in Deneb and Deneb in Cygnus, Altair forms the famous Summer Triangle asterism, a fundamental navigation aid for amateur astronomers that dominates the northern skies. Here's the main stars. You got Altair or Alpha Aquilae, the constellation's brightest jewel at magnitude 0.77. A-type main sequence star rotates so rapidly it completes a full revolution in just 10 hours. Alshane, Beta Aquilae, despite being designating Beta, this yellow subgiant of magnitude 3.7 is the 3rd brightest star in the constellation. Taranzir, or Gamma Aquilae, an orange giant of magnitude 2.7, whose warm hue creates a striking visual contrast with nearby Altair when viewed through binoculars. Eta Aquilae is a renowned Cepheid variable star whose predictable brightness fluctuates, have proven invaluable for astronomical distance measurements. Its brightness varies between 3.49 and 4.3. Together, these stars form the distinctive shape of the soaring eagle with outstretched wings across the blacktop of the Milky Way. Okay, quite a few exoplanets have been discovered. In Aquila. Libertas or Xi Aquilae hosts a gas giant in a close orbit. HD 183263 contains multiple massive planets, while WASP 126 is home to a Saturn mass exoplanet. These discoveries highlight Aquila's importance in modern astronomical research, particularly understanding planetary formation. Some of these planets are hot Jupiters, massive giants orbiting very close to their parent stars. And this is just a diagram showing how distant from the parent star that the planets are. 2 of the planets are in that system. Okay, deep sky. We have the Glowing Eye Nebula, NGC 6751, which is a planetary nebula resembling a cosmic eye with intricate shell details and a hot central star. One called the Snow Globe Nebula, NGC 6781, another planetary nebula with a distinctive spherical appearance like a Christmas snow globe. And the Matinee Nebula, not a Matinee Nebula, Westerhout 6050, also known as the Matinee Nebula, is a supernova remnant whose distinctive shape earned this marine mammal nickname. Okay, sorry about the pronunciation there. Aquila has rich star fields. August and September nights offer prime viewing opportunities when Aquila rides in the night sky. The constellation's position along the Milky Way provides an incredibly rich backdrop of stars and nebulae. Dense star fields of the Milky Way provide stunning, expansive, and mesmerizing views when observed through the binoculars. Use an 8-inch or larger telescope for viewing planetary nebula and other deep sky objects. Astronomy in culture. The International Astronomical Union has named many of Aquila's stars, preserving their rich Arabic and Latin heritage that reflects centuries of astronomical tradition. As part of the Hercules family of constellations, Aquila shares narratives connections with other prominent star patterns in our night sky, creating a tapestry of interconnected celestial stories. Astronomers today observe two meteor showers associated with this constellation: the June Aquarids and the Epsilon Aquarids, attaining to its observational appeal. Aquila continues to serve as a bridge between ancient mythology and cutting-edge astronomical research, exemplifying how human fascination with the stars transcends time and cultures. And it has just going through its rich heritage, blend of mythology and bright stars. Its galactic gateway as its position along the Milky Way, and it's an observer's delight with your myth enthusiast or amateur astronomer. And that's it.
Right. Thank you very much, Michael.
Okay.
So there we are. So Frey Tom's had to leave us, Lou's had to leave us, but we're stuck with you to the end. So that's it. We really hope you enjoyed our look at Mars in popular culture this evening. Don't forget, if you'd be so good as to leave a comment on the video when it's published on YouTube, that would be fantastic, and a like as well. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. So please like and subscribe. And that was great fun for all of us, I think. It was really good to look at popular culture. Bless you. So, as you can see, the influence of Mars is widespread. So to answer the original question, why are we obsessed with Mars? I think we've shown you in which ways we're obsessed, what it represents.
Because it's there.
Because it's there, indeed. Thank you, Michael. Yes, because it's there. Because apart from anything else, Mars is the only planet in the solar system which, as far as we know, could support life. And this is, one of the reasons that it's not too difficult to let your imagination run away with you and imagine, as so many writers have done, from Wells, everybody, imagining Martian, civilizations like Ray Bradbury, Edgar Rice Burroughs, of course, with his hero John Carter on Mars, which turned into that awful film, which should never have been made. And it will go on into the future. Mars will always be there, both beckoning us and mystifying us, and perhaps even scaring us a little as well.
Because of course we've got to. It's the next stepping stone if we want to move out into the stars ourselves. But first of all, before we do colonize Mars, we're going to have to conquer the robot overlords that are there at this moment.
Well, it is the only planet in the solar system that's inhabited exclusively by robots.
Robots, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, and don't forget, as I said, if you haven't watched The Expanse, which looks forward to where humans might be in the solar system in about 200 years, for my money, my opinion, it's the greatest sci-fi ever on TV. Forget your Star Treks and your Battlestar Galacticas and all that nonsense. Watch The Expanse. It's I'm not sure whether it still is, but it started life on the Sci-Fi Channel, then moved to Amazon, who picked it up after the third series. There are 6 seasons in all, and it's just wonderful, taken from the set of books.
It's definitely a binge watcher, isn't it? Definitely.
It's definitely a binge watch. Once you start watching The Expanse, you can't stop. I've watched it now 9 times, all 6 seasons, and I miss it when I'm not watching it. So I'm just about to start watching it all again. It's that good, honestly. Watch The Expanse. If you have any trouble getting hold of it, let me know. And you can ail me. You can ail me if you like.
Ail me. Yeah, any ale.
Any ale throw my way. Forget the coffees. Let's go for the ale. Buy me an ale. You can mail me, which is what I went to say, at andy@spaceoddities.space. So for any of this stuff we've talked about tonight, I can certainly help you get hold of this stuff. So anyway, there you are. That's it for this evening. Next week on Space Oddities, it's the Mars quiz next week. So we're going to do the Mars quiz next week. We hope you will join us. A quiz all about Mars. Come along and pitch your wits against us and against other viewers. Our quizzes are always great fun. We have great fun doing the quizzes. So please come along next week with pen and paper in hand. Get ready to test your knowledge of Mars and come up top dog. And as we said last week, we had a special guest last week, and he is going to donate a copy of his book called The Search for Life on Mars. Nicholas Booth. He was our guest last week, as you may have seen, and he has said that for the winner of the Mars quiz, he will donate a copy of his wonderful book, The Life on Mars. So not only are you entering the quiz next week, you'll be in competition to win a book. So we'll have to see. So we're going to put you all on Cub Scouts honor, not to cheat, obviously. So we'll trust you. We'll trust you. But there you are. So Sandra says, thanks so much, guys. Another brilliant show. I'll definitely be here for the quiz. Gerard, sorry you had trouble getting on. I don't know what the problem was there. Obviously not at our end. But thank you very much. So there we are. So thank you to all. I just want to say a quick thank you to Stuart for the multiple coffees that you've bought us this evening.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that'll keep us going in caffeine until.
I could hopefully thank him in person tomorrow night.
Oh, you'll be seeing him tomorrow.
Ooh.
Yeah, please thank Stuart for us. If I don't know if you're still around, Stuart, whether you've gone, but anyway, from all of us at Space Oddities, thank you for your generosity. It's very kind of you, and not for the first time either. So there you are. All right, guys, have a fantastic week. Take care of each other. We'll see you back here for the quiz, normal time, 8 o'clock UK, next Tuesday night. And we'll do the quiz, and somebody will be walking away with a copy of a book. Well, at least an IOU for the book. We'll get it to you in due course. So you'll be walking away with the book. So that'd be great. So thanks to Nicholas Booth for offering to kindly donate that as the prize. See you next week, guys. Have a great week. Take care of each other. All the best.